Hello and welcome back to my vlog, Essays on the Constitution of the United States, Part 20, Agrippa 13, Part 1. I guess he got pretty lengthy. The Massachusetts Gazette, number 400, Tuesday, January 14th, 1788, concluded from our last, to the Massachusetts Convention. Gentlemen, the question then arises, what is the kind of government best adapted to the object of securing our persons and possessions from violence? I answer, a federal republic. By this kind of government, each state reserves to itself the right of making and altering its laws for internal regulation, and the right of executing those laws without any external restraint, while the general concerns of the empire are committed to an assembly of delegates, each accountable to his own constituents. This is the happy form under which we live, and which seems to mark us out as a people chosen of God. No instance can be produced of any other kind of government so stable and energetic as the republican. The objection drawn from the Greek and Roman states does not apply to the question. Republicanism appears there in its most disadvantageous form. Arts and domestic employments were generally committed to slaves, while war was almost the only business worthy of a citizen. Hence arose their internal dissensions. Still they exhibited proofs of legislative wisdom and judicial integrity hardly to be found among their monarchic neighbors. On the other hand, we find Carthage cultivating commerce and extending her dominions for the long space of 7 centuries, during which term the internal tranquility was never disturbed by her citizens. Her national power was so respectable that for a long time it was doubtful whether Carthage or Rome should rule. In the form of their government, they bore a strong resemblance to each other. Rome might be reckoned a free state for about 450 years. We have then the true line of distinction between these two nations, and a strong proof of the hardy materials which compose a republican government. If there was no other proof, we might, with impartial judges, risk the issue upon this alone. But our proof rests not here. The present state of Europe, and the vigor and tranquility of our own governments, after experiencing this form for a century and a half, are decided proofs in favor of those governments which encourage commerce. A comparison of our own country, first with Europe and then with the other parts of the world, will prove beyond a doubt that the greatest share of freedom is enjoyed by the citizens, so much more does commerce flourish. The reason is that every citizen has an influence in making the laws, and thus they are conformed to the general interests of the state. But in every other kind of government, they are frequently made in favor of a part of the community at the expense of the rest. The argument against republics, as it is derived from the Greek and Roman states, is unfair. It goes on the idea that no other government is subject to be disturbed. As well might we conclude that a limited monarchy is unstable because that, under the feudal system, the nobles frequently made war upon their king and disturbed the public peace. We find, however, in practice, that limited monarchy is more friendly to commerce because more friendly to the rights of the subject than an absolute government, and that it is more liable to be disturbed than a republic because less friendly to trade and the rights of individuals. There cannot, from the history of mankind, be produced an instance of rapid growth in extent, in numbers, in arts, and in trade that will bear any comparison with our country. This is owing to what the friends of the new system and the enemies of the revolution, for I take them to be nearly the same, would term our extreme liberty. Already have our ships visited every part of the world and brought us their commodities in greater perfection and at a more moderate price than we ever before experienced. The ships of other nations crowd to our ports, seeking an intercourse with us. All the estimates of every party make the balance of trade for the present year to be largely in our favor. Already have some very useful and some elegant manufactures got established among us, so that our country every day is becoming independent in her resources. 2/3 of the continental debt has been paid since the war, and we are in alliance with some of the most respectable powers of Europe. The western lands, won from Britain by the sword, are an ample fund for the principal of all our public debts, and every new sale excites that manly pride which is essential to national virtue. All this happiness arises from the freedom of our institutions and the limited nature of our government, a government that is respected from principles of affection and obeyed with alacrity. The sovereigns of the old world are frequently, though surrounded with armies, treated with insult, and the despotic monarchies of the East are the most fluctuating, oppressive, and uncertain governments of any form hitherto invented. These considerations are sufficient to establish the excellence of our own form and the goodness of our prospects. Let us now consider the probable effects of a consolidation of the separate states into one mass, for the new system extends so far. Many ingenious explanations have been given of it, but there is this defect, that they are drawn from maxims of the common law, while the system itself cannot be bound by any such maxims. A legislative assembly has an inherent right to alter the common law and to abolish any of its principles which are not particularly guarded in the Constitution. Any system, therefore, which appoints a legislature without any reservation of the rights of individuals surrenders all power in every branch of legislation to the government. The universal practice of every government proves the justness of this remark, for in every doubtful case it is an established rule to decide in favor of authority. This new system is, therefore, in one respect at least, essentially inferior to our state constitutions. There is no Bill of Rights, and consequently a continental law may control any of those principles which we consider at present as sacred, while not one of those points in which it is said that the separate governments misapply their power is guarded. Tender acts and the coinage of money stand on the same footing of a consolidation of power. It is a mere fallacy invented by the deceptive powers of Mr. Wilson that what rights are not given are reserved. The contrary has already been shown. But to put this matter of legislation out of all doubt, let us compare together some parts of the book, for being in an independent system, this is the only way to ascertain its meaning. And the comparisons will have to wait until tomorrow, and then ongoing. This is a fairly lengthy one. Agrippa 3, that is. I think it'll be in 3 parts. Make it a great day, and bye for now.